All right. Hello, everybody. So I did this week's presentation for programming on AI in the world today, and kind of went along the lines of programming because um, the AI is programmed into a computer, and I think it's really interesting the way it's done, and there's different methods of how it's done, and so we're just going to look at the modern modern AI and how it's integrated in the world today. So what in the world is artificial intelligence? Well, artificial intelligence is an area of computer science that emphasizes the creation of intelligent machines that work and react like humans. Some of the activities computers with artificial intelligence are designed for, what they're designed for include speech recognition, learning, planning, and problem solving. This is a definition I pulled off online after reading a few different sites. But actually, to be honest, after reading one of the articles I found, there's no good definition for artificial intelligence, and that's kind of one of the arguments of the papers that I was writing. Before I get going into this, a lot of the papers I was finding for artificial intelligence in, say, like the medical field, had a lot of opinions in how it should be used and what it is, and also the dangers of it. So, and we'll get into that in here in a second. But artificial intelligence is all around us in the world today. I mean, you look at Siri on your iPhone, or even self-driving cars. It can range from anything. I could have listed 100 examples, but I didn't have space on this slide, so I only listed 2. AI is extremely useful for specific tasks in certain situations. For example, say I'm driving to Connecticut and I need to send a text message to my buddy saying that I'm going to Connecticut. Well, I can do that now with the use of AI. I can say, "Hey Siri," and it will say yes, and then I can pretty much do whatever I need to from my phone with my voice. It's a pretty cool feature, and but we have to ask: is the AI only capable of accomplishing tasks that the programmer writes code for? Because I mean, essentially, that was code written for the phone to listen for my voice. Once it hears it, a string or a sound bite that sounds the same, it registers that, and then it sends it over to prompt for another command, which could be programmed in for another soundbite. Well, AI is programmed to have adaptive and learning algorithms more and more, as we see, to make probabilistic decisions based on prior information that it has received. AI is now able to learn from the situations it has been given. And so, like, here's another breakdown I found from an article, how do you break down AI, into machine learning, neural networks, and deep learning. But I kind of would put neural networks and deep learning together, but that's not super important because we're going to look at machine learning for the most part. AI is seen in numerous industries today: medical, marketing, cars, whether that be self-driving, financial markets, law. I mean, like, if you think about it, if AI is now able to look at certain outcomes and make decisions based upon those previous outcomes, why couldn't that be applied to law? Or in the medical field, like, we see all these symptoms that have been seen in patients for thousands of years, and so can we just program that in? And so now it's reading a sample data from something, and then it makes a decision based upon that for the next patient upcoming. Or marketing, or financial markets, like looking at the stock market, but not just stock market, but there's a lot of different aspects of it that it can be predicting based upon what it's given. So it can learn as it goes, and that's based upon the amount of data you give it. Okay, so let's look at this machine learning. Machine learning is a computer system that can look at large or small amounts of data and learn from it without being programmed explicitly. I think this is a good example in our hackathon. We saw groups that had gave their in TensorFlow, which I'll talk about in a second, their model quite a bit of sample data, and then ones that didn't give near as much, or it put more emphasis on that sample data, or ones that didn't, And I think that's really important to realize, or how they manipulated their sample data to go in there, whether it had more prime numbers or less prime numbers. They were able to teach their AI more effectively in different situations. So where are we seeing AI? Well, it's examples now in the medical field. So originally last week I was planning on just doing programming in the medical field, but I kind of want to expand a little bit on that. So each of these bullet points I found topics for papers and how AI is used in that. So radiology, it's a really, really important, all these have to do with radiology essentially, but AI is becoming really good at image detection. So like, let's look at investigating the automatic identification of pulmonary embolism in computed tomographic angiograms. So essentially it's looking for a block in the lungs. Really complex words, not complex, that's how science is. But it can look at all these scans that we're taking of the lungs, the computed tomographic angiograms, that is a CT scan. We can have AI look at those and see if there's a malformation in the lungs, and we should be able to detect that. Something that maybe even the doctor wouldn't detect or can't necessarily detect, an AI might detect something. Or macro calcifications in mammograms, we build up of the calcium in these scans, or polyps in computed or in the more CT scans of the colon. These polyps are like I think it's mucus or blanking on what it's called. Growth essentially on this mucous membrane within your colon. Then there's changes in patients with Alzheimer's disease, like from brain magnetic resonance imaging, so MRIs. We are able to find things from that with AI. So AI is very much growing, and it's very used in so many different places. And these articles can go way more in depth on how they did that. But something that I thought we'd keep going with what AI is and where the dangers lie. So AI, really popular languages to use are Python. Python's one of the best ones. And some of the libraries or tools used within that are TensorFlow. It's a very popular option for programmers to implement some of this machine learning. So we can set up some sort of how TensorFlow works is we set up some sort of a classifier, that we train that model on the sample data that we give it, and then we use it. We just use it to predict. That's pretty much what we're doing, making educated guesses based upon prior data. That's the basis of all AI and TensorFlow, to be honest, the tools used in it. Okay, so that was cool. But what else? Well, artificial intelligence has also been used to understand the brain and how humans think for quite some time now, looking at more deep learning and the way we think about things. So thought this was interesting. I found an older article. It was a conference at the University of Bristol in 1977, and the topic was, what can artificial intelligence offer psychology? And so all these people came from all over to talk about this. And the overall conclusion, I'd say, what I kind of gathered from it was, the search for simple mechanisms underlying human behavior is characterized by the collection of masses of experimental data in the absence of precise theories about underlying cognitive functions. Artificial intelligence offers a methodology for the development and elaboration of symbolic representation for the processes underlying intelligent behavior. Okay, so they probably could have condensed that down, but essentially that consensus that they reached then, it works now too. The theories that we've come up with within psychology through social experiments, through psychological experiments, those theories have gotten better and better over time. But that's how we base our AI off of, and how we program it. When we program it into a computer, we don't just have no basis of what we're programming it for, otherwise the AI is not going to make any sense or have any framework. So we have to have solid theories that we can base everything off of in order to build a better AI. And this is where the programming comes in. It's very important to have that solid framework. Okay, so sounds good, but just because AI is used in these positive ways, is there a concern that it could be used negatively? Absolutely. This is a big concern, especially people, I would say that people that don't necessarily understand what AI is, they're more concerned, or they're concerned, and then the people that do understand what AI is, they're even more concerned because they know what the dangers there could be. Now, that's not to say that's for everybody, but just in people that I'm talking to, they understand that there could be dangers and limitations or risks from it. So as computers become more advanced, the speed and the memory of those computers, they get better. We're able to do, like with AI, or program AI to do the unthinkable, like beating humans in the most advanced and complex games that we create. We are the computers are able to react to what we're doing and figure out the best possible move for them so that they win. Or even operate self-driving cars. Like that's just like if you ask somebody about that like 30 years ago, they'd say you're crazy. But that's what we're doing right now. So this tends to raise concern and caution. One concern is that as AI continues to grow, there won't be much of a need for human workers in a commercial world. This could be in regards to jobs, that they're simple, repetitive, low critical thinking jobs, but it also eventually there could be jobs like lawyers. And these, I mean, like this is kind of what we see. We see like automation in like the assembly line. Robots are doing a lot of those jobs now. But what if we have more complex jobs where there's decisions that have to be made? Well, now AI can be taking those jobs too. Automation has radically transformed our society and will continue to do so, but my concerns about artificial intelligence are different. Application of AI methods can lead to devices and systems that are untrustworthy and sometimes dangerous. Sometimes dangers. This was also pulled from another article. It was an opinionated article, but I thought it was interesting and worth the read. The dangers are what I kind of gathered from the dangers are when people begin to rely on the artificial intelligence for certain things so much that they're not able to function without the said AI, and that's when the real problem arises. And that makes sense. I mean, if we start getting into a world where we can't function without that, then should that AI go down or something like that, we're not going to be able to function without it. I guess that makes sense, right? So, in the end, AI research will continue to grow with the added need for the understanding of programming that goes into it. That's the importance of at least the field right now. I think AI is really huge, and programming is definitely going, or a lot of programming is going into that. Programming being the key to how AI can think based on the structure and programming tools given, such as TensorFlow. It's also important for programmers to understand the risks of AI and how it can be used and the potential dangers that come from it. So when they're working on something, like there's concerns that need to be brought up. And I think the programmer ultimately needs, or programmer or team of programmers needs to keep that in mind when they're doing this. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching.